What's up, YouTube? Southern Comic Geek coming to you with another haul video. That's right, I got out to the LCS today, used it as a staycay, and got out to Louisiana, hit up a couple comic shops, got home to see a whole bunch of packages I wasn't expecting. It seems that the USPS dungeon is finally letting my comics go. So, if you want to see what I got today, stay tuned for the video. So I got down to Louisiana. Shout out to NOLA Comics and Sparks Comics and Who Dat, who were all down in that area. Would have shouted you guys out and seen if y'all wanted to go and hit up some comic shops. However, I was with the fam. So always a good excuse to get out to some comic shops. So I went to the first comic shop, Crescent City Comics, which is normally a stop if I'm in the New Orleans area. So shout out to them. I don't know if it was the owner I was talking to today or just an older gentleman, but a much more pleasurable experience than I've experienced in the past. Not that I've had a bad experience with them. It's just that when you have younger folks that are more interested in talking to each other and then their friends in there, they're not really interested in talking about comics with a middle-aged guy. So that was my first stop, and so let's see what I got. Shadow Man number 10. That's from the volume 4. Picked up the 1 in 50 Shadow Man number 1, the Bill Sienkiewicz cover. Now you notice this thing is mylar'd out of its mind, and you'll notice that there's some other ones, even this one right here, that don't have price stickers on them, and they look like they're good to go. And that's because this is the second time that I'm filming this video. The first one, the computer ran out of memory, and somehow I deleted it. And so there you go. But I come back again a second time to bring you these good comics and show you those that I got today. So Detective Comics 980. So really self-collecting detective. It is definitely another wormhole, even with Batman. Is a big wormhole, but Detective obviously so much farther back, especially if you go back all the way to 27. And so probably never get there. But when I say self-collect, I mean if I pick it up, I'll pick it up to fill in a gap. So let's say I have issue 5, 7, and 9. I'll pick up 6, 8 to fill in that gap, if that makes sense. Especially if I can find them on the cheap. So that's what I did today. Picked up 980, 981. I already had 983, so here's 984 and 982. Then I picked up, these are fun, Toys R Us. These are the replica editions. So obviously my ultimate goal is to collect Batman, I think, as of right now, all the way from 1 to 713, which is the first volume. And I'm only a few away from hitting that 300 to 713 mark. But this was 121, and it's a reprint. This is a big book that I wish is kind of hot right now, but I wish it would cool off. Yes, that's a dad joke. But anyhow, what makes this more interesting is it's a Toys R Us reprint. So I didn't want to grow up, but I wanted to be a Toys R Us kid. But Toys R Us left me, so I picked that up. And then also picked up Batman 277. I normally don't. I've tried to hone myself into getting these last 4 that I needed for my 300 run before I go into the 200s. If you saw my collecting goal video for 2021, you'll notice that I had that I only needed 60 comics inside of 200s to have 200 to 713. And so this was one of them, but it was $5, I couldn't pass it up. It was too good of a deal, and so what are you going to do? Then I got Detective Comics 38, not the original for sure, but this is a fun Toys R Us reprint again. These were $5. And then got the one for the first Batgirl. And I am not collecting Detective, as I said, but this is one of my goals for 2021. I've been close to pulling the trigger a couple times, and timing just wasn't right. So maybe 2021 is the year to own that. Magnus the Robot Fighter, some 12-cent gold key goodness. I've been kind of picking these up now, and you see it's been Mylar out of its mind, and so no, I did not pay top dollar. And typically these don't really fetch a high dollar. You just don't find them out in the wild all the time, because you're talking about 12-cent goodness. You're talking about Silver Age and then even Golden Age to some of the gold key stuff. The aggravating thing is, for those of you who know, these are not numbered, so you have to go look them up. And before I file them, I'm going to write that. I don't typically write anything on the back. Maybe I should, but I'm going to write the number on the back. That way, when I'm flipping through them in the future, I can kind of turn and see that. But it's in CLZ. It's just if I'm absent of CLZ. Wolverine 178. Only need a handful of those to collect the first full volume of Wolverine. That's the second volume, but first full volume, 182. And shout out to the shop that didn't go through all their back issues and just automatically up the price just because The Mandalorian was a success, because I've been kind of doing the same thing. One of my goals for 2021 is to finish the first run of Star Wars. I'm not very grade specific on those. I'm not one of these guys that's got to have an 8.0 or 9.8 on every single thing, especially for non-key books within that run. But they've been getting pretty pricey with The Mandalorian's success, and so was able to pick these up for $2 to $5 depending on the books. And this is number 13. I'm okay with the Whitman variants too in these runs. So Star Wars 25, 27, and 47. Star Wars, which started with the Jason Aaron run. This is one of those weird numbers, like I mentioned earlier with Detective, that I needed. So that's number 6. This is the third printing. Tales of the Jedi, Dark Lords of the Sith, number 3. And number 4. Dr. Solar, Man of the Atom. It's an early issue. Can't remember. Going to have to write it on the back too. But yeah, these awesome painted covers on these. And of course, as a connection, as it were, with the Valiant reboot of those characters, Star Wars 40. So those were the ones at the first comic shop that I went to, and then so I'll save the last comic shop that I went to last, because there's an additional lesson there. But these are some of the mail calls that I had. So shout out to Tacoma Comics, who said he was going to hold my comics until after Christmas to kind of let some of the stuff get where it needs to go. And lo and behold, I was surprised when they showed up at my doorstep today. So I seen where he had posted on Instagram that he was going to be mailing them out, but I did not see where, I didn't get a tracking number or anything like that. And Christmas was Friday. So if you mailed them out the day after, that's Saturday, all across the United States. Wow. Shout out to the USPS. Seems to be getting their act together. Hopefully I'm not speaking too soon. But this is Star Wars 40, 32, 34, 30, 22, 26, Tales of the Jedi, Dark Lords of the Sith, number 2. And so you saw the other 2 that I picked up in the same series. For some reason, I thought it was a 5-part series, but it's 6, so I'm missing the last one. Also got from Tacoma Star Wars 21. Looks like an Art Adams cover, but that's Infantina. Then Darth Vader 3. This is from the Volume 2 of Darth Vader, the current one being 3. And this is the first appearance of this Jedi right here, whose name escapes me right now, but it's kind of a pricey book. All the Star Wars books, especially the ones with first appearances, are spiking right now because they don't know what Disney's going to do next. So everybody's kind of speculating. Tacoma threw this one in. He said it was beat to you-know-what, but I didn't have it. I have a Whitman variant of it, but I didn't have the newsstand, and it was free. How can you pass it up? Rescue a Comet. Star Wars 23. And Star Wars 88. So Tacoma's collecting these Star Wars too, and it's funny because I was on one auction and I outbid him. And he said, let me know which books that you don't need, because I didn't need all of them. And so I reached out to him, and so, lo and behold, as luck would have it, he needed some of the ones, and so we exchanged funds and sent him those books. Well, then we were in another auction on another channel, and he said, let me have this one. I said, okay. So he went after it and got the lot, and then he did the same thing for me. And so, as luck would have it, I needed some, and that's what these Marvel ones are. Star Wars 93. The newer ones I bought off of the Saturday Morning Cartoon Crew, which you can see on my channel this Saturday at normal time. We will be coming back this Saturday at 1 o'clock Central Time, so stay tuned for that. Hit the bell notification so that you don't miss anything like that. Hit the like button while you're doing that. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, I forgive you, as long as you subscribe now. So then I also got this, and the funny thing about this is that this was in Memphis, 4 hours from my house. Wouldn't think it would take that long. This was an eBay purchase. I really didn't even anticipate. It was one of those deals. I was kind of scrolling through a whole bunch of stuff on eBay and bid on it because it was just so low. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Didn't expect to get it. Lo and behold, I got it. And this is the gold edition of the Harbinger from VH2. If you watch my video, don't know much about Rye, you'll hear me refer to VH1. That's Valiant Heroes 1, and this is Valiant Heroes 2. So this is the reboot, 2012-ish, and this is the gold edition. So when they brought all the characters back, they did like they did in the old days and did like a gold 1 or a gold 0. And so I think this is a pretty high ratio of it. Great shape. I'm okay with it. I don't think it was the seller's fault. I think it was just got caught up in the mix. Memphis is a big hub where I live at. So just unfortunate that way. Then on to Exile State. So I was just looking at this on the computer last night, and it wasn't giving me any updates, so I was very surprised to get it today. A while back, he was mentioning that he had a run of these books, and I reached out to him. He said it'd probably be a low bin. They're not really all in that great of shape, but it'd be great to have on the cheap. He never sent me pictures of them. I just happened to key into his auction. I had company coming over, so I wasn't even on the auction except for this one thing. So I guess it was kind of meant to be. And I said, man, you forgot to send me those pics. So as luck would have it, I ended up getting them anyway. They've been mylar'd out of their mind, so they look awesome now. And again, they're Dale and Gold Key comics. And so I don't know the numbers. Got to write them down. But this is Turok, Son of Stone. I'm not going to apologize for the glare, though, because Bub would get on to me. And so the Dale ones are the older ones, I believe, and then the Gold Key imprints, then the Whitman prints before they went away, before Valiant licensed them out. So Turok has been, he's still a Gold Key property, as is Magnus and Solar. But they went to Valiant, of course, and then they ended up going to Dark Horse, and now they are at Dynamite. Dynamite's had some Dynamite covers, another dad joke, right? But looking at the prices, this looks like the one that's worth the most. It must be interesting, kind of a take on Gulliver's Travels. But anyways, and so then they sized them down about here. So still 15-cent goodness right there, folks. Great painted covers. The interior work is what you would expect for the time. So really the Gold Keys are all cover buys in my mind. And you know, if I ever get around to getting like a Magnus one or a Solar or Turok one, I might worry about getting it in a decent grade, but these not so much. These covers right here are basically what you saw with the Whitmans. Starting to see that 70s artwork went on like great. Then you had this one right here. And for whatever reason, they had a address label stuck directly onto the comic, which was unusual because even if it was a mail order comic, normally they folded them over and put them in an envelope. Maybe Gold Key was trying to cut some cost or something. And Justin, Exile State, who sells on Strictly Comics channel on Sundays, I don't think he sells anywhere else, threw in some Pit trading cards for me. So yeah, so 95. I'm surprised I didn't have these really. Maybe it was just I just missed them because the comic shop that was in my local town had closed about that time. But Pitt, or I had all these. So that, like these right here, looks like it connects. And if you had a card page of 9, it'd be a little mini poster. And so Pitt is one of the ones that I pick up. I only need a couple to finish that run. It was a short run. But Dale Keown was drawing the Hulk in, when I was really collecting Hulk, while Peter David was writing it. And so I could understand, and he probably did take inspiration, to be honest with you, from the Hulk, just because of his big bulging figure. But if you actually read the story, it's totally different from Hulk. It wasn't like he pushed a kid into a ditch just in time to save his life and was hit with this gamma blast and became big and green. So aliens kind of did it to him. So yeah, kind of an interesting deal. Still largely an art buy. I'm not going to say that they were great stories. I don't know that many of the image, or if any of the images, were back in that day, to be honest with you. It's just that they had the top tier art. You had Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, Will Spataccio, Eric Larson, Mark Silvestri, Jim Valentino, Del Keown, and Jim Lee. I don't know if I said Jim Lee or not, and I'm probably missing somebody else, but just top tier art. And as Rob Liefeld has said in his Robservations podcast, Image wasn't, people weren't buying it for that. They were buying it because it's great art. So there you go. So shout out to Tricky Trapster, who I think he might sell on Instagram. I'm not sure, but I know that he sells on various comic book YouTube channels. And so I saw this and decided to pick it up. Hardly can pass up an inexpensive copy of Bloodshot #1. This is my 16th copy. Yes, I have a problem. But this is Barry Windsor Smith goodness. And it's really hard to get one of these in high grade. And I don't see a single tick on this thing. I mean, I would be surprised if it went to 9.6 or 9.8. Not that I'm going to send it to be graded, but just saying. But this, and I don't know if he threw these in or these were part of the lot. His camera's not all that great. Sorry. His camera wasn't all that great, but I saw what I needed to see, and so I picked it up on the cheap. Nobody was really bidding on it, so I don't know if these were part of it or not. Bloodshot #2, and then this was the one that I was bidding on. So this is the more recognized cover, Rye Zero, but this is the origin of Bloodshot. And if you've seen my latest video talking about you don't know much about Rye, or asking that question, you'll notice this cover, or recognize this cover. And so there are two versions of this, a matte and a glossy. For the longest, it's hard for me, or was hard for me, to tell which one was which until Daymares enlightened me, which, by the way, another plug for a former video, Talking Valiant with Daymares, was that right here, you can't see the pages. The cover overcomes that. That's the matte. There's the kind where the glossy is actually like the front cover is a little too short, so you see the pages behind it. And so that's the easy way to tell which one's which. So now you know, and knowing's half the battle, G.I. Joe. Which is a really good segue, interestingly enough, because Mike Zeck, who drew several G.I. Joe covers, that's his cover. It was swiped for sure. Same image of his Punisher drawing. You would have known that from the former video as well. And talking about the former video, this next thing. So bought some comics off of Instagram from AKA Comics. Not thinking that they had to go too far, but knowing how the Postal Service is as of late, he even said, hey, I don't know when you'll get these. I said, yeah, well, just put them in the mail. They'll eventually get to me. So he was selling stuff on the cheap. So check him out. A lot of dollar bin goodness, especially if you're trying to fill out some runs on the cheap. And Rye #1 from VH2. That's right, Clayton Crane goodness right here, folks. And so typically when you see Clayton Crane, as an aside, he's only doing covers. X-Force, his run on X-Force, he was doing the interiors too, but typically he's only doing covers. He was doing the interiors and the exteriors. Awesome artist. This is the dollar debut version of that. And then Superpowers #5. So for those of you who are old enough to remember, I had I had 2 of the DC characters. Never could find Batman. Don't know why, or don't know why I didn't have the Joker, or I might have had the Joker at one time. I know I had the Joker from 1989's Batman. I actually still have that one. But my great grandmother had bought me the Aquaman and the Green Lantern. A girl in first grade had lost the arm, and so Green Lantern had to go. But Aquaman, I never really whatever with, so he was lost in the annals of time. But this is a comic book talking about those characters, kind of going along the release of this. I think there was a cartoon series as well, but along the action figure release. And so blame Lady Fantastic for this one, because she's the one that put me onto the series. So this is a Jack Kirby cover. And from the interiors, it's Jack Kirby on the art there as well. And so this is part 5 of 5. I got a couple from her. I found one somewhere else from 1984. So kind of later Jack Kirby work. So pretty cool. And for $1. Can't beat that with a stick. Then we got Star Wars 85. $1 for some good Star Wars. Oh. And then we got 71. And I can't pass it up. Anytime I can see these on the cheap. This is the newsstand. Of course, this tells you, but also you might recognize this as a Prism cover typically. So this is the newsstand copy of Wildcats number 2. The newsstand copy of Wildcats number 4. Newsstand of Wildcats number 3. So yeah, couldn't pass it up. And he was doing some kind of deal where I think some of the comics were actually $2 a piece, but then you buy 5, you got 1 free. So it ended up still being $1, ever how that math works out. Now, I was surprised to see this, Necrotia, The Gathering. This is an homage to some vampire movie. Can't think of it. If you know which one it is, leave a comment down below for everybody, including myself, to know. But this is Clayton Crane goodness again. And for no other reason but shiny, shiny foil goodness. It's a novel, and it's the I think it goes from New Mutants 87. New Mutants 87 through 94. So this is the quintessential Cable, Rob Liefeld Cable, right? And so this is one of my favorite covers that Rob Liefeld's done, is the one where Wolverine and Cable fight right there. And so yeah, shiny foil goodness for $1? $1? You can't beat that with a stick. That's right, you can't beat it with a stick. So those are some of my mail finds. And so let's talk about the last comic shop that I went to. So one comic shop I went to, was all excited, went up to the door, saw that they were selling stuff. I had stuff on sale and pulled. It was locked. They were closed. Alas, it wasn't meant to be. So I decided to go to what they refer to as the North Shore and go to, I'll think about the name of the little comic shop there in a minute. They recently moved, and they are next door to a pop store. They have a couple pops themselves. They have some killer figures. If I had room, I'd get that Wolverine fighting Hulk, which is, kind of an homage to Hulk 181. But I'm more afraid, besides the room, that it would open Pandora's box, and then I'd be broke buying figures. Because they had an awesome Conan one too, Darth Vader. Yeah, some really, really nice statues there. But the showcase collectibles. So some of their stuff was priced and some of it was not priced. And so that always makes me a little leery, because I don't like leaving stuff at the cash register, because I don't feel like it's value. Not necessarily anything wrong with the price that they gave. It's just not, to me, worth it, because you have certain set goals, that you have these dollars and like, okay, I've got $20, but I'd rather spend on this than that. I mean, I want that. And if I didn't have nothing else to spend that $20 on, I'll go ahead and spend it on that, if that makes sense. So Wolverine 185. So I only need 2, I believe, Wolverines now to complete that first full series. 189 issues, I think, 189 issues. The one I need is the Hulk 340 homage, where Deadpool is fighting Wolverine. It's a Rob Liefeld cover. and they had it, but it was $30. And so, not that it was a bad price necessarily. It's just, again, $30. I had done bought all this other stuff, and so I was like, I'll just pass on it for later. Star Wars 16. These were not priced, but they were only cover price, so we did not pass on these. Star Wars 17. Star Wars Darth Maul. This is not the cover that I would have desired if I had my choice, but I didn't, so I just picked this one up. Star Wars number 9. I saw these Star Wars Darth Vader number 2s, and I thought maybe the first Ahsoka's in here. I was not that fortunate. Then we got Shadow Man. Dug through a couple of their loan boxes, dollar bin boxes, and found this free comic book day 2018 Shadow Man. These were not priced, so I took them up there, and she wasn't checking eBay. She was taking pictures of them and sending them to her husband saying, what do you want for them? So, again, cringe. However, these were still fair, so $5 for these. This one was $20, but if you recognize the cover, this is the first appearance of Yoda in comics. So he's in the shadows, but it is the first appearance nevertheless, and it is actually a decent copy with the press. Probably be looking at an 8.85, so happy with it. 17, Whitman variant there. Number 63. And King Size Annual number 1. So what's significant about King Size Annual 1, you might ask? I'm glad you did. So first off, you got Walt Simonson on the cover here. So you're starting off on a good foot. Secondly, you got Chris Claremont writing Star Wars. I don't know that he ever had before or has since then wrote Star Wars. I mean, he's wrote other things aside from X-Men, but that's largely what he's known for. So there's that. And then there's the story about Obi-Wan having 2 apprentices, one Anakin Skywalker and one Darth Vader, because it's taken from the thought before Empire Strikes Back is released that Anakin is killed by Darth Vader, which from a certain point of view is true, right? But that is the interesting thing about that one. So glad to pick that one up. And then there's this one. So you might ask, Jason, why would you buy Daredevil? What's there significant about that? And some of you might already know this. There are 3 advertisements, or were 3 advertisements for Hulk 181. So first cover appearance, first full appearance, you notice these quotations here, of Wolverine. And in Marvel Premiere is one of them. Thor, there's another one. I forget the number offhand. And then, you guessed it, Daredevil's the other one. The problem is, some other kid who ought to be hung at high noon decided to cut this out. I didn't realize that, and maybe it's on me because I didn't realize it until after I had left and was 30 minutes down the road. That, because if it's $100 book, yeah, I'm pulling it out, let's look at it. But $20 book, because that's what it was. I was like, should it have been marked? I think so. Tell me down in the comments below what you think. But so I called them up and I said, hey, look, just bought these comics. They recognized me, because I had just been in there. And I said, look, this thing is cut out. So they wrote down the price and everything like that and said, look, just next time you come, bring it in and you can either get your money back or get a credit for it. Now, they could have said, no, how do we know that's the exact same comic? You're trying to rip us off. You had a bad copy from somewhere else. They could have said all that. They didn't. I had talked to her because her husband collects Valiant. Got to be something good about him. Plus, his son's name is Jason. He's got something going good for him. But anyhow, he's got some stuff that they think that he might have some stuff that I need. And so they had already taken my name and number and we were going to exchange list. So they wrote it down. So shout out to them for good customer service and taking care of me there. And then the 2 big finds of today, at least in my humble opinion, and tell me what you think in the comments below. But I picked up Batman 235. I know I swung outside the Batman 300s again, but I couldn't pass it up for a second appearance of Talia al Ghul, Neil Adams' Batman goodness. It's been Mylar'd out of its mind, so looking pretty good for that $15 I paid for it. It is complete, staples attached, all that kind of stuff, but there is a crease that you really can't see, that Mylar magic. So I was happy to pick that one up. And as I mentioned, they had already priced some things and not priced others. I was fortunate enough that they priced this particular book in 2019, long before any future state hype came around this particular character, and that character is Luke Fox. So this is Batman 313, the first appearance of Luke Fox. So if you're familiar with this book, this character before Future State, and the fact that he's going to be the new Batman, at least for a couple issues, no care about the character, right? It's just another 300 issue. Now it's a several $100 book in high grade. Even in mid grade, these things are expensive. I paid $15. That's right, $15 for this puppy. And of course, it's Mallard out of its mind now. But with a press, this book is looking at 9 to 9.2. So it's still a mint near milk copy. So really happy with this to pick this one up, and certainly my finds of today. So tell me what you think about my pickups. Did I get a good deal? Are you collecting some of the same stuff? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to enter my 750 subscriber giveaway. There'll be a link in the description below. We are fastly approaching that. Hopefully we'll hit 700 before year's end, because I'm going to be giving away first appearance of Boba Fett in magazine. If you follow me on Instagram, you would know that. If you haven't followed me on Instagram, you can follow me there too. But a link for that video is below that tells you how you can enter 3 different ways to get up to 16 chances to win an X-Men 4, the first appearance of Scarlett Witch. So if you haven't done that, go ahead and do that. Get your entries in now, because I'm going to cut it off. Once we hit 750, I'm going to cut it off, and then we will set up the show and we will go live. You do not have to be present to win that particular one. You do or will have to be present to win the first Boba Fett in magazine, but you don't have to be present to win the X-Men 4. I will contact you and give you like 48 hours to contact me back. Yeah, so go ahead and get in that before it is too late. Share the channel out with your friends, your family. Of course, if you do some of the things that I ask you to do to get your entries in, you're doing that too. So you're getting a freebie for doing it that way, or potentially a freebie. And then, of course, we'll be announcing what the next giveaway is going to be, and it's going to be grand. You know, how we're going to continue to get better and better from this. We gave a New Mutants 98 away, going to give away an X-Men 4. How do you keep topping this, people? I don't know. I'll try to figure it out. But until that said time, let's go ahead and hit 750 sooner rather than later. Also, I will be doing an interview talking about X-Men comics with Justin from No Good Comics. As you might know, he has a show talking about X-Men Omnibus with John's Comics with Kids on Tuesday nights on his channel. So if you didn't know, you do now. Check him out. And we're going to be talking about X-Men comics. What got him into X-Men? Some of his favorite issues, some of our favorite storylines. And so I know a couple of things about X-Men. I know he's passionate about them as well. So that will be on live Wednesday night. That is going to be December the 30th at 6 p.m. Central Time. So if you hit the bell notification on the channel, you won't have to worry about putting it on your calendar. You won't miss it. Also, be sure to smash that like button as you get out of here, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, keep reading and keep collecting. Adios.